Hey everyone, Shiv here. Alright, so as the splash screen told you, these are going to be my thoughts on balances. Now, I've been playing Overwatch during a lot of the open betas and things of that nature, and got a real taste of a lot of things of it. In one of the earliest open betas that I got to take part of, some of the classes were really OP, and then they ended the beta completely for a bit, retooled a lot of things, then came back with a new beta that apparently a lot of stuff was changed. So here we are now at launch, and people are crying left and right. You know, it's like, oh, this is OP, oh, that is OP, blah, 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 blah. Now, some of this actually is justifiable. There are some characters who definitely have some significant damage potential versus every other class in the game, and some of it is just a little tweak here, a little tweak there, possibly could make things better. But the rest of it's pretty much people refusing to adapt to situations, i.e., the game is designed around the concept that you can switch to any class in order to counter what your opponent who's kicking your ass is playing the most. Alright? That's how this game works. If you see a composition that's kicking your ass, well then maybe it's time you change up your composition to counter theirs. That's kind of how this game was designed. However, there are some specific characters that definitely need to be looked at. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at some of the characters. We're going to go over specifically what their abilities are, how this affects the in-game, and what we need to really look at. Now, I also have a data table here that I've collected of some of the damage outputs of some of these characters, and we're going to discuss that, and also how these abilities affect the gameplay. Alright? So first up, we're going to start with Bastion. This is probably one of the ones that everybody argues about left and right. Bastion's OP, the damage of him in Sentry form is just ungodly. Once he gets on you, you're pretty much dead, blah, 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 blah. You know, that's perfectly valid, and it is true. Bastion is really disgusting. But guess what? You might die to him once, but if you're smart, that'll be the only time you die to him. Because once you know where he is, he's pretty much done. A bad Bastion pretty much sits on one point, holds an angle, and just completely destroys anything that comes down the angle. Now, if that Bastion is working in an organized team, then you might see a Reinhardt sitting in front of said Bastion providing a shield cover, thus, yeah, good luck. Or you might see a Mercy constantly heal streaming him, thus, good luck, he never has to hit E. So that's going to happen, guys. There are ways of countering that. You just got to look for the opportunities. All maps are designed to have multiple ways of getting to a point, alright? It's called flanking for a reason. So when I hear people bitch about Bastion being OP, I just want to cringe going, wow, really? Come on. Have you even tried another character? Have you even tried looking for alternative routes to get behind him? Truth be told, Bastion is strong, but if you can get on his backside and get 2 to 3 shots point blank on him, with pretty much almost any character, he's going to fall apart. Tracers tear him apart repeatedly. Junkrat's angling shots in on him. Pharah's using the long-range accuracy of their rockets. I mean, there's a myriad of ways of doing this. Bastion is not OP. You just need to learn how to adapt to overcome him, alright? He used to be stronger. He used to also have a shield. You want to talk about OP? He had a shield. It was like a 300 damage shield that you had to get through in order to kill him. And even then, he was pretty easy to kill. Not gonna lie, he was pretty easy to kill then too. Alright, his lack of mobility options definitely makes him a sitting duck. Now, does anything really need to be done to Bastion? I would say possibly, and this is just me, possibly tweaking his regular gun. At current, it is the most powerful rapid-fire weapon in the game. And I'm not talking about Sentry form. I'm talking about his Recon assault gun. Basically, that thing you see on his right arm right now. That does 20 damage per shot, ladies and gentlemen. 20 damage per shot, which means you can knock any attack character to death, with the exception of Reaper, in 10 rounds hitting them. Now, of course, hitting a headshot will do double damage, alright, so let's remember that. Now, when he's in Sentry form, that drops down to 15, but it's firing 3 times faster. So, yeah, that is kind of significant. If you're going for headshots with him, that's going to be 30 a pop, okay? So, quick math there says, yeah, you're pretty screwed. So, yeah, but does he need to have anything done to him? No, not really. His abilities are relatively balanced out because he has always been a character that everybody's complained about. So Blizzard did take a lot of work to try to balance him out. The reconfigure I think probably might need a little bit of adjustment, and not in a negative way, actually in a positive way. I think it needs to be kind of tuned down a little bit more. It generally feels while playing him to take just a little too long to get into that mode. And while you're in that transition mode, you are completely vulnerable. Not to mention, your head is now completely in the back, so anybody flanking you is just going to destroy you. Thus, again, Bastion's just a sitting target. Alright? So does he need to be nerfed, change, balance? Probably not. He's relatively okay the way he is. And by the way, to you Reinhardt players are going, no, because you can destroy my shields. Well, yes, everything can destroy your shields. He's just designed to do it quicker. That's why people take him. Alright, next up we're going to talk about is, one of my personal favorites, is Junkrat. Alright? The crazy Australian explosives expert. Junkrat is what I like to refer to as a zone denial specialist. And what this means is he's able to basically create enough chaos, havoc, and damage in a particular area to make you get the fuck out of that area, which is really good when you're talking about trying to clear people off a payload, really good when you're trying to flush out people who are trying to hold up in a room that's heavily defended. His frag launcher does really good at indirect firing over objects in order to create havoc while not exposing himself to any damage. That's awesome. It also does 120 on the direct hit and anywhere from 40 to 80 on the concussion blast. Now, the bombs themselves do not detonate on proximity. No, they detonate on a 3 bounce cycle. So if you shoot the grenade straight down at the feet, it's going to 1, 2, on the third one it blows up. Alright, so that's how that works. So you can kind of plan this out once you learn the character a little bit, which, by the way, is a little difficult, I'm not going to say. The projectile he shoots is not very fast. I mean, you can track it through the air pretty damn easily, which makes being able to dodge it kind of easy. I can't tell you how many times I've watched a Genji or a McCree literally just go right underneath the arc of fire and get right to me when I was going straight for their face. Alright? It happens, guys. It really does. And anything moving basically left or right is going to be a little tricky as well, because now you have to lead the target as well as aim a little higher up. Again, a little bit of an annoyance, but still not a horrible trade-off, to be perfectly honest. Now, the big complaint that people have about Junkrat is the fact that if he's up in the medium to close range, he has the potential of pretty much taking out everything in the game with a few directed shots. He can kill tanks, he can kill defensive units, he can kill pretty much anything, and his concussion mine makes a great bit of fire. He technically only has 6 rounds in his frag launcher, but a lot of people count the concussion mine as that 7th round. So at 120 a shot, that's quite significant. That is 840 damage, not including any excess damage, i.e. 80 points of damage you'd get off the steel trap. Now, the steel trap plus the concussion mine leads to a really nasty combination that kills pretty much every single attacker in the game. If you step on the trap, you take 80. The concussion mine, if it's relatively close by, is going to do another 120. That's 200 damage. Boom, by Tracer. Let me tell you, there's nothing more satisfying than that. Trapping any opponent in that trap pretty much opens them up to a world of pain. If you're not moving, you're pretty much already screwed in this game. So yeah, stopping their movement, really good. And the final thing that I really want to talk about here is the Total Mayhem, his suicide vest for all intents and purposes. So if he dies, he drops these little explosives everywhere that do 300 damage. Now that might not seem like a really important thing, but against certain characters, i.e. Genji and Reinhardt, this could actually be really devastating. Here's where that steel trap plays heavily again. So if you catch them in the steel trap, you die right next to them, steel trap hits them for 80, and the explosives hit them for another 300. That's quite a bit. I don't care if you're Reinhardt, that's going to hurt a lot, alright? It really is. And you can use this to a tactical advantage in many cases. Literally running into a giant fray, trying to kill people, literally point blanking them with your gun. You're going to take damage from the blast back and possibly dying right on top of a bunch of people, and thus getting a multi-kill that way. That is pissing people off greatly. Oh my god, does it piss people off greatly. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say I really do like Junkrat. I've played him way too much at 28 out of my 59 hours. All right, I'm almost half my time in the game spent as Junkrat. All right, so he's definitely a character that I have a lot of fondness for. Now, what people really want is they want his damage reduced. Well, the problem I have with that is then he becomes almost completely functionless. All right. The fact is, his main weapon is one of the most inaccurate and most difficult weapons to actually use. I mean, seriously, Hanzo players who try to play Junkrat are like, oh no. All right, and I have some friends who are really good Hanzo players, and it's like, yeah, I tried playing Junkrat. What'd you think? Fuck that. No, I don't know how you do what you do, but I don't want any part of it. All right, you have to be half crazy and half intelligent in order to play Junkrat successfully. But he is a relatively easy character to play. A lot of times you're just going to spam a general area where you know there's enemies, and you're probably going to, get a lot of damage, anywhere from the 40 to 80 range. But it's those players who actually are engaging in those frontline fights, going for the flank attacks, hitting the snipers point blank with their weapons. Those are the Junkrats you really got to worry about. And these are the ones that are causing a lot of people to go, whoa, no, this needs to be changed. Does it need to be changed? No, I do not agree. And here is why. If you look at the frag launcher's blast radius, it's actually smaller than the Pharah's blast radius. And Pharah is a much more accurate weapon with only one piece of ammunition less. Alright, Junkrat has a huge fall off on its projectile. Its speed is also less than a lot of things in this game. So getting around him and, not having to worry too much about his damage isn't overly that hard, guys. The rate of fire on the gun is also pretty damn bad. So, does he need to be nerfed? No, he doesn't. Now, you might say, oh, of course you'll say that because that's one of your favorite characters. No, I'll give you that. And that might be true, but at the same time, I'm also being completely unbiased here. If Junkrat needed to be nerfed, I'd say it right now. Yeah, he needed to be nerfed. Initially, I thought, hey, why doesn't he have 250? You'd think a guy who handles explosives and is blown off his fucking leg would have a little bit of more endurance than that. But no. So, yeah. I don't think he really needs a nerf so much because his mobility is pretty crap outside of using the concussion mine. And if you have to use the concussion mine for mobility, then that 8-second cooldown is really going to affect your functionality in a lot of group battles. So, yeah, pretty much he's going to be okay. Alright, moving along to the next character is going to be the most despised and probably the most requested nerf of any character I've ever seen in any game, and that is McCree. Alright? Whether you love him or hate him, you have to admit that this is probably one of the strongest characters in the game. He is so strong that competitive players are using two of them in their gameplay. And the reason for this is quite simple. His counter, quote-unquote counter, is one of the hardest characters in the game to play, i.e. Hanzo. Alright? And truth be told, not that great of a counter. Yeah, sure, a sniper can take him out relatively good. Anybody at medium range can take him out really, really good. But up close and personal, he has no competition. This guy single-handedly wrecks the enjoyment value of so many people I know. When they see a team with more than one McCree, they just leave. They don't want to deal with it. And truth be told, I normally tell people, hey, look, adapt to the situation. But I can't blame him. He really has way too much potential here. Alright, so let's take a look at this. Let's get to it. So, what exactly makes McCree really powerful? Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's Fan the Hammer, which is the alternate firing ability of the Peacekeeper weapon. Now, the Peacekeeper does 70 damage a shot. Alright, I want that to sink that in. 70 damage shot, no fall off. However, over a certain range, the damage output of the Peacekeeper goes down dramatically. Very dramatically. Now, when you look at using Fan the Hammer, or Fan Fire, however you want to call it, at point-blank range, you're pretty much going to hit all 6 shots in that point-blank range. By the way, in this game, point-blank range is about here, alright, in perspective. Medium range is about here. Long range is out of camera view, I'll tell you that right now. So, to break it down into feet, or meter type thing here, I'll use feet because that's the system I've grown up with. You're talking about anything from 7 foot or less is pretty much a guaranteed 420 unload on him. If you're talking about that medium range, that's anything over 7 feet to about 30 feet is about medium range. And from 30 to about 200 is where you get a lot of drop off in his damage output. So yeah, he is mostly a middle to up close and personal fighter, and he does it quite well. You look at his combat role combined with that flashbang and fan the hammer, you're going to get a lot of damage. A lot of damage. So the two things that I think really need to happen with McCree. One, you need a damage reduction on the alternate fire mode. Oh, I know I'm going to piss a lot of you people off by saying that. I don't give a fuck. Alright? Seriously, 420 for hitting one fucking button? Get the fuck out of here. Snipers are sitting here going, fuck you. I hit a headshot and even I can't do that much. I do not think a sniper who's hitting a headshot should do less damage than a scrub running up, hitting the right mouse button. I think that's completely fucking bullshit. Combine that with the fact that the flashbang also does 80 damage. Come on now. Come on now. And it's an AoE. It's not like they actually have to hit with the flashbang. If the flashbang had to hit direct target, I think that would be, I would be a little bit okay with that. But even still, you would still have to reduce the damage output on the alt fire of the Peacekeeper. Now, how much of a reduction are we talking about here? Well, to be perfectly honest, that math is a little sketchy because you're really talking about bringing it down to 50 damage. Oh my god! Okay, that might seem a little bit extreme, and I'll be the first to admit, yes, that's a little bit extreme. But if they're not going to change the spread on it, then yeah, it's going to have to come down to 50, maybe even 45. Now, you notice how I said the spread on it. The spread is generally about 45 degrees in the at 7 or less feet. Now, obviously, the closer you are, that spread gets reduced quite a bit. But what we've been seeing quite a bit of in this game already, which is a really, really, really sad thing, is there are unethical cheating people in the game. All right? We all know that there's hacks in the game. We all know that there's websites specifically in China and in Russia that are selling this shit at about 30, well, actually, the cheapest one I've seen is $19 to $30 a pop. It makes me sick. People are using wall hacks, people are using aimbots, and, well, McCree is one of those characters that this is happening quite a bit. There are a few specific ones that this is happening quite a bit with. McCree, Widowmaker, Hanzo, apparently there's one for Hanzo, Soldier 76, pretty much any of the overly direct fire weapons. Now, somebody's going to point out here is like, well, Hanzo's not a direct fire. I mean, you kind of have to arc that. The aimbot has an offset. Alright? Actually has an offset depending on range, and it adjusts on it. It's probably one of the smartest systems I've ever seen. I was like, wow, holy shit. But that doesn't really help for leading the target or anything of that nature, so keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, but McCree is definitely one of those that you'll see this. And one of the distinct ways you can tell that this is happening is you'll notice that when he's using Fan the Hammer point blank, you'll see it come up one way, back to center, up there, back to center, up there, back to center. It'll always keep coming back to the center within that 6 spray. It either looks like a weird little W or a fucked up looking V. So, and when you start seeing that on the kill cams, you know something's probably not legit. Now, this isn't to say that a really skilled player couldn't do this. No, that is not to say that at all. But the likelihood is reduced quite significantly because these things do exist. Alright? So, the best way to resolve this is you're going to have to open up that that cone from 45 degrees to more around like 90 to 120, possibly, degrees in that arc. Alright? Because right now, Fan the Hammer is the most annoying skill in the game. There's very few counters to it. It's very hard to play against, even against legit players. And, well, truth be told, your quote-unquote counter for him isn't really much of a counter considering the amount of skill required to play one versus the amount of skill required to play the other. The second little thing I'm going to say here is Flashbang should not deal damage unless it's a direct hit. The AoE stun, I'm not a huge fan of, but let's say, okay, let you have it, but should not deal damage. I'm sorry, I've worked with munitions, I've worked with concussion grenades. No, they do not do damage. Maybe if you're standing right on top of it, or with, yeah, sure, but they do not do damage. Alright? They're non-explosive. And you're giving it the same sort of explosive power as you would a junk rat grenade blowing up within that range. It's not a grenade like that, alright? It's not. So I honestly feel that the flashbang needs either to have all that damage removed or have it be something piddly like 10 damage, okay? Should not be fucking 80. That right there, combined with the amount of damage the gun does already at point blank range, allows McCree to kill every fucking character in this game who is not using armor. And even most of them are still going to die, with the exception of Reinhardt, okay? That's not a fun scenario, guys. That is not a fun scenario at all. You should not have a fucking Highlander in a game like this. And basically, that's what McCree is. There could be only one douchebag. Alright. Moving on. Alright. Next one we're going to get to is Mei. A lot of people bitch about Mei because of her control aspect. Well, I actually have to kind of agree on one minute point about this. I have no problem with the fact that Mei freezes you. That's exactly what she's meant to do. She's a control specialist. I have no problem with the walls and how they work. Perfectly fine. Yes, you put a wall up right through my turret. Now my turret can't fire. That's good tactics. Alright? You put a wall up to block line of sight so the rest of your team can flank around. That's fine. That's tactics. Alright? I have no problem with these concepts. I support them wholeheartedly. What I have a problem with is her alternate fire weapon. Alright? So the endothermic blaster. Alright, it has two forms of fire, one of which is basically a freezing spray that if you're in the spray for 2.25 seconds, you get frozen, which then is normally followed up by the alternate fire, which is a 70 damage icicle. Now, aiming at the head equals to 140 damage. That is pain, and when you're talking about a non-moving target, hitting a headshot's pretty fucking easy, guys. It's pretty fucking easy, alright? It's like seal clubbing, alright? All you Canadians know what I'm talking about. So yeah, therein lies the problem. Now the biggest problem people have with me isn't so much the freezing, isn't the ice wall, the cryo freeze they have a little bit of an issue with, and the ultimate they have no problem with. It's the fucking alternate fire on her gun. 70 damage, and you can snipe with it because the icicle has no fall off. I'm not kidding. I was using it to snipe snipers. There's no fall off on it. Not a single one. And it's 70 damage. Alright? When I look at Torbjorn, who has a very similar type style of play, his primary fire does 55 damage, but that arcs, even though it specifically says in there, long range rivet. So would that not also apply the whole non-drop off status? But it doesn't. So how is it you're going to apply this physics to one character using the same terminology and the same things of that nature, and not to the other? Now, I have no problem with Torbjorn actually having less damage, because he comes with a fucking turret that he rides like a pony. Alright, I have no problem with that. And his alternate fire is basically a shotgun blast, which has the ability of exceeding Mei's damage up to about 100 at point blank range. Let me tell you, it's always fun to watch Reinhardt's cry and go, "How the hell did the dwarf walk through my shield, get behind me, and shoot me in the ass and kill me?" Good times. So I have no problem with that, but I do have a problem with the fact that Mei has no fall off on her shots. I just don't think it's overly good, and it's one of the things people have been complaining about. Being headshotted from halfway across the map by a sniper, GG, happens. Being headshotted from across the map by a Mei, what the fuck? No. Hell no. I mean, I want to see that Mei arcing the shot at least, alright? I don't want to see this whole, you know, ping, dead. And the projectile moves relatively fast, too, alright? Who knew ice moved that fast in comparison to a rivet? Now, I know, it's sounding like I'm salty because, as you guys saw earlier, I also play a lot of Torbjorn, which we're going to be covering him here momentarily. As a matter of fact, we're going to cover him next, after Pharah. Alright, so Pharah. Pharah is arguably one of the best characters in the game, also one of the easiest characters in the game. The vertical movement allows for some really great scenarios. It's easy to hit somebody who's just running on the ground, okay? Because you only have to track left and right. And occasionally, maybe a little bit up when they're jumping. But when you're talking about somebody who can jump up in the air, now you're having to aim up in the air. You get light blooms in your eye. You're not paying attention to what else is going on. And while you're aiming at Farah, somebody's going to come around from the side and take you out because you're not looking at at what's on your immediate plane. All right, that happens quite a bit. But Farah's rockets, this is where a lot of people have some issue. Those rockets do 120 damage, which is the same damage output as Junkrat's frag grenades. All right, this makes her very ideal for direct fire combat missions against, say, bastions, turrets, etc., etc., etc. The blast off those rockets when they impact into on a wall or an object or whatever is actually larger than the frag launcher explosions. I'm not kidding. I spent time testing this too. I spent time testing it. Like, I had to get further away from the point of impact of the rocket launcher than I did of the frag mine in order not to take damage. So yeah, there's a little bit of a problem there, and you may want to change that up a bit. Alright, just a little. Now, I'm not going to say it's not fair because that's a very petty thing to take, but when she's in the air, it's already going to be problematic for people to get away from. Because if you're vertical, you can look down on a lot of things. So there's really not much that's going to help you other than walking into a structure. And even then, Farah could just drop down a little bit and blast into that hallway you just ran into and still kill you, okay? Trust me, that doesn't really help you out too much. Now, there is also no fall-off on the shot, which, again, I do feel is a little bit but at the same time, if we apply the fall-off to the shot, then the uniqueness of Farah would be kind of diminished. She'd just basically be Junkrat with a jump pack, alright? Nobody wants that shit. Nobody wants that shit, alright? So, yeah, there's that. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is the reload time for loading Farah's rocket launcher is a little too quick in my personal opinion, alright? The time it takes to reload other weapon systems versus hers, and considering the damage impact that her weapon system actually has, really makes me think that possibly tweaking this either a half second to a full second longer might be in order. Now, again, that's my personal opinion, and I know some people might have a problem with that and might say, oh, that's going to kill the class. No, it won't really kill the class. It'll force the players to play a little bit smarter than they've been playing. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is not Call of Duty. All right, it's a team game. Play as a team, for fuck's sake. All right. Next, we're going to get to Torbjorn. You want to talk about a class that gets a lot of hate? I mean, my god, Carbot made an animation parody based on him. The whole play of the game was all about Torbjorn. This little dwarf has been the bane of so many compositions that it just pisses them off. He's useful in in almost every defensive situation, and in a couple offensive ones where you have to escort a payload. There's nothing more annoying than trying to clear people off a payload, only to discover as the Reinhardt and everybody dies, you get taken out by a turret that was placed on the payload. Yeah, that shit's a lot of fun. Let me tell you, it's super fun, and Lord knows I've done it quite often. All right, so outside of the fact that his turret is a beast and ends up getting him play the game repeatedly, he's actually one of the more, I guess, balanced characters in every single way. I mean, if you're not willing to adapt in order to take care of the turret, then you kind of really have nothing to complain about. I mean, there are many ways of killing that turret. The issue I have here is with the rivet gun itself. Slow firing, that's fine. That's fine. Long-ranged weapon. Okay, now we just talked about how May's weapon said the following. Long-range icicle launcher. So she does not have the whole slow, right? Which, in all honesty, she should. She really should. Alright, but why is it that his has the drop-off and hers does not? It's one of those things that really kind of gets to me. It's like fire and ice. These are literally the two elements these characters are representing as fire and ice, and yet you make one do less damage and also be slower to fire, and you make the other one super fast which completely goes against everything of, you know, thermodynamics. We're not going to get into that, but still, you get what I'm saying here. I really kind of feel like May's shot either needs to be adjusted or Torbjorn's needs to have the drop-off reduced or removed entirely, you know, because it should not have this at all. Now, his alternate fire is an inaccurate but powerful short-range weapon, and let me tell you something. Genji, you can eat a bag of dicks, because I will use this on you and watch you fall apart in 2 hits. Alright? I've killed tracers with this. I've killed tanks with it. You can kill everything in the game with a couple of shots from this at point blank. Alright? It's an amazing thing. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if there's a Genji on top of you and he's doing the block shit, you don't have to stop fire. Run towards him, go to hammer, start swinging. That hammer does 70 damage right there alone per hit. Yeah, I know, that seems a little odd. Like, wait, we're going melee against a ninja? Remember, that ninja's only doing about 30 damage with his little ninja strike thing. And that's on a cooldown. All you have to do is just hold down the fucking hammer as you're going at him. When you're in Molten Core mode, oh, you want to see some hilarity. Pop out the hammer, hit Molten Core, just start running up beating people with the hammer. You will not believe how much people will go, I didn't know you could do that when it shows up on a play of the game. They will be like, I got hammered. What the hell? Alright? I've had many people just sit out there and go, it's hammer time! You know? So yeah. So, the biggest complaint everybody has is the turrets are too powerful. Alright, let me bring up... There we go. Turrets are too powerful. Okay. Alright, so... Level 1 turret does 14 damage per shot. Fair enough. Level 2 turret does 28 damage. Level 3 does 70. Alright? 70, because you also got to count for the rocket pods as well. And it's also at a slightly accelerated rate. But this is his ultimate. It's meant to be powerful, okay? So you're telling me that you're getting hit for like 30 damage and you're not going, oh, hey, let me get the fuck out of this guy's way. Yeah, the turret is annoying, alright? But it's so easy to deal with. I'm not kidding. They're very easy to deal with. You ask any fair players, like, hey, what do you think about Torbjorn? And you know what they'll say? Oh, I love it when they're sitting there healing it. That way I can kill the turret and him at the same time. True fact. True fact. Alright? Turrets, by far, really easy to deal with. And when you see a bunch of Torbjorns on a map, okay, that gets really annoying, I'm not going to lie, but it's actually quite easy to counter. We actually had a game, me and a few of my friends, where we convinced the rest of the team, hey, let's all just go Torbjorn and watch them cry. We wiped their team 3 times. They then spread out, came all in as Genji. Literally reflected every shot back and destroyed the turrets that way, wiping out each and individual one of us, and then just circled around. We tried it again, this time staying by our turrets in a way to where as the Genjis were coming in, we would shoot them in the back. That seemed like a good idea. They all came in as Junkrat, totally raped that idea. So trust me guys, there are ways of dealing with this shit. Ways of dealing with it quite nicely. So does Torbjorn need a nerf? No, but I would definitely say he could use a little bit of modification to his primary fire on the rivet gun. Alright? At 55 damage, yeah, that does kind of hurt, but at the same time, that drop-off is kind of a bitch to aim with. It is possible, though. And you feel like the greatest thing ever when you headshot a sniper with that at range. Oh my god, that feels so good. Alright, so we're going to talk about one last character now, and that is Zenyatta. Now, Zenyatta, arguably one of the best DPS support characters ever invented for a first-person or any kind of game like this. I don't even think there's anything close to even representing it. But the problem is the healing aspect. This is supposed to be a support character that doesn't really support the team worth a shit. Alright? Here's why. Orb of Harmony. Matter of fact, let me bring up Zenyatta. Where are you? Alright, so those orbs do 45 damage. The regular orbs of destruction do 45 damage per shot. If you do a charge shot, that's literally 5 orbs at once, equaling out to 175. And nobody has a problem with that. What they have a problem with is the Orb of Harmony and the Orb of Discord just don't last long enough to be overly effective, you know? At current, I believe there's something like 5, maybe 7 seconds. In all honesty, it should be something closer to like 9 seconds, because 5 seconds worth of healing, unless you're going to up the amount of healing you get off the Orb of Harmony, isn't really that much. I mean, it's going to heal maybe 100 back. That's great for attackers, but on a tank, that's horrible. That is really horrible. Though I have seen comps that ran 2 Zenyatas, no tanks, and nothing but attacks do surprisingly well. Surprisingly well. The amount of damage they were just able to push forward every single engagement was disgusting. It was disgusting. So yeah, I don't know if messing with the damage is a good idea. I really don't think it's needed, but definitely the Orb of Harmony needs some sort of increase. Orb of Discord, I'm okay leaving it as is, just because a debuff that strong is not something you really want to mess around with too much. But the healing aspect, yeah, guys, either up the amount that it's going to tick for, or you're going to have to increase the time that it lasts, because right now, it's extremely underwhelming. Alright, and that's my personal opinion. And I love how they rate this as a very difficult character. I mastered this character in about 1 hour's time playing. Ended up getting, what was it, like 34 kills in a match? Yeah, it wasn't really hard to play at all. Just saying right now, it's like any other character in this game. But yeah. Now, the ultimate ability is a really nice one. This is where pretty much 90% of Zenyatta's heals come from. It's also a really great way of pushing the payload. And it pisses people off. It's like, oh, I'm okay with Zenyatta becoming invulnerable, but I don't think, everybody nearby should become invulnerable. It's like, well, tough shit. Alright? Lucio has his gimmick. Zenyatta has its gimmick. And, Mercy has her gimmick. Alright? So it's apples and oranges, people. Apples and oranges. So, but that's pretty much all my thoughts on some of the balance changes that, a lot of people have been begging for, asking for, and my own personal opinions on this. Now, you notice I didn't say anything about Tracer. Just because she's probably one of the most beloved characters out there, Blizzard's going to handle her with kid gloves. We already saw what happened when somebody had a minor little morality issue involving one of her poses, so I don't really want to talk about that. I'm not really going to touch Diva either, even though I kind of feel like the spread on those shotguns might need to be increased a little bit more, but you know what? She's pretty damn disgusting as is. Reaper, I'm okay with Reaper. I'm not 100% sold that he really needs that extra 50 health, but it is what it is. Hanzo, I'd like to say I really wish Blizzard would just, remove Hanzo, but he is what he is, and he's actually pretty decent. Lucio, I kind of like the balance that he's at right now. He used to be a lot stronger, but now he's actually about perfectly balanced with the rest of the healers. There is one other character I think might need a little bit of a rebalance here, and that's going to be Symmetra. I like Symmetra. I love playing defensive characters. I've been trying to master them all over the place. And Symmetra is definitely one of those characters that I think has some really cool potential just because of the functionality she provides to every map. But the problem is the photon projector ain't worth shit. 7 damage pulsing as it goes and such a hugely short range. Alright? That's kind of bad. Now, the alt fire on this weapon is kind of good, but it's slow moving. Alright, this charge will actually kind of zone out the enemy in long hallways that you're trying to contest. You want to hold the enemy back from coming. This is actually really good. I've used this quite a few times on Hanamura to lock down one whole side quite nicely. And for those of you who've played Hanamura enough times, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, so you can lock this down quite nicely. Nobody's going to want to walk into it because that's 100 fucking damage. Actually, it's 125 damage at a full 6-second charge, I think it is. Yeah. Alright, nobody wants to take that. Now, sentry turrets are also something that people really hate. It's like, oh, I don't mind taking 3, per tick, per turret, but I don't think it should have a slow. No, it should have a slow. She's a support character that's kind of also, useful. Alright, you need that. Slowing a target down is one of the greatest ways of controlling a situation on the board. This is why Mei is so hated, and, well, so is Symmetra. Those turrets will put in a lot of work, but you gotta learn where to place them, and smart Symmetra players learn pretty quickly how to place it. And the moment you start hearing those I-beams go off, if you're not turning instantly to shoot them, that's your own damn problem. Alright, if you think you could run through the I-beams, that's your own damn problem. Alright? You always have to clear it. And there are ways of clearing it very simple. His name is Winston, alright? Winston does it nicely. Junkrat can throw a concussion mine in a room, blow up most of them. You know, so trust me, there are ways of doing it. It's not like they have a lot of life, okay? Any kind of explosion nearby will pretty much blow them up. They are very, very fragile, which is funny considering she works in a construction-based industry. All of her tools are very fragile. So, I don't know. But I definitely think her main attack, the short-range beam weapon, should possibly get a little bit more loving. I think the range on it is probably the biggest detractor from people wanting to play it. You pretty much have to be at McCree insta-kill range in order for this to be viable, which is kind of problematic. I think that once it attaches onto a person, the closer you are to the target, obviously the more damage you're going to do, but it should also track with them up to a certain point, and then, you know, that damage is also going to get reduced the farther away they get. Alright, there's definitely ways of doing that, and I think it would actually be pretty decent. But other than that, that's pretty much all of my thoughts on balance, and hopefully, you know, like I said, these are my opinions, my thoughts, alright? It's not that I'm saying Blizzard should do this, it's kind of what I'd like to see done. Doesn't mean that Blizzard is going to do this, okay? And you may agree with me, you may disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. If you'd like to tell me so, go down to the comment section, let me know. If you agree with my assessments, let me know. If you disagree with my assessments, give me a very specific reason why. Don't just say, you're a fucking idiot, alright? I do that enough on my own, alright? Shiv, you're a fucking idiot. Trust me. Alright? But give me something a little concise. Make an argument. Make a valid, thought-out argument. And I'd love to read it, and I'll consider it. Alright? Till next time, stay safe, have fun. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, and the world still needs more heroes. Peace!